Hi, good afternoon. This is Richard Hsu, host of Hsu Untied. This afternoon, I'm very pleased and thrilled to have with me as my guest Cyndie Chang, who's the partner at Duane Morris. Cyndie, welcome to the program.
Hi, Richard. Thanks for having me.
So, Cyndie, why don't you start by telling me what made you decide to go to law school in the first place? Was it a childhood dream or what was it?
I don't know if it was a childhood dream, but I think I did have a natural inclination for uh, debate and speech. I ended up doing some mock trial programs early, and actually, I went to college thinking I was pre-med, and I think that was mostly because of my parents. I went to Johns Hopkins as a pre-med student, but I came out pre-law. So, so yeah, that's how it happened. But I just kind of was more inclined to a liberal arts education, and I was a poli-sci and psychology major.
I see. How far did you get into your pre-med endeavors?
I think the first semester I uh I went into Johns Hopkins thinking that I was a whiz at math and science, and I really could not hack it. I thought there was like hieroglyphic calculations on the wall, and I said, "Oh my God, this is not for me. It's way over my head. I'd rather go back to reading long articles and treatises and studying history and so forth." So I ended up trying to get out of all those classes as soon as possible.
So, when you went to law school, did you have an idea? Did you already know what kind of lawyer you were going to be? Did you always know you're going to be a litigator or did you not know?
To be honest, I think that law school really doesn't kind of prepare you as to all the different options. And I had no idea what I wanted to do when I graduated. In fact, I think litigation was kind of the most common
Hmm.
course. And so I just took the first job that I got, and that was in a civil litigation private practice role. And apparently I guess I'm good at it, and I ended up doing litigation for the entirety of my career.
Yeah, yeah. Well, did you like it right from the beginning? I mean, litigators, not everyone likes litigation. Is it something that you kind of feel like you like?
I do like advocacy. I really love investigation of facts. I love analysis, and I think I'm really good at writing.
Uh-huh.
Before I went to law school, I thought really long and hard whether I'd want to be a journalist because
Oh,
I really
interesting.
liked investigating stories, telling stories, and then writing about them.
Hmm.
And the better part of me, I guess my father had said, I really think you should go to law school. And I wanted to please dad. And, I don't ever regret it, but I did end up going to law school and just kind of going through the course of what law school presents you with. They present you with offers from law firms and things like that. And I ended up just going down that route and really thought that I would come out just with a law degree and go into journalism, but
Oh,
that never
interesting.
ended up panning out. Oh, to answer your question about my first year of practice and being a litigator, I I actually thought that it would not be a great role for me because being a first year lawyer is hard in and of itself. But at the place where I was at, and in a very vulnerable position, being a first year lawyer, not really knowing what was going on, I think I almost fell out of the practice of law because it was just so challenging and so um, just acrimonious.
Hmm.
Um, where I was at, the partners at where I was at were not really encouraging. I was just
Hmm.
a cog in the wheel, a first year associate, and there wasn't that developmental
Hmm.
focus that I wish that I had had. And so I remember, really being berated by the top lawyer at that small firm saying, "You're never going to be a trial lawyer because you're too
Hmm.
meek and you're too quiet." And so I went home driving and sometimes crying, thinking like this was not meant for me. I'm not supposed to be a trial lawyer. I
Yeah.
need to do something else. But instead, I ended up getting recruited to a different firm and felt like with a totally different and conducive environment with good
Huh.
mentors, you could totally change your perspective of the law.
Wow.
So that worked for me. And then I ended up going to another law firm, and that even worked better for me. And then I started to really hit my stride um, later in my junior years and
Huh.
mid-year of my career. I mean, mid-year of my my associate life.
Yeah. Well, that's a fantastic story. I assume you've told that to many summer associates or junior lawyers who maybe are questioning whether they're fit for something. I mean, you were told by another lawyer you're technically not good at this, and yet you overcame that and, obviously proved them wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. I love telling my story and I do it a lot, especially, at old law school or bar associations. And I was very active in bar associations and I hope to inspire students, especially if they're not at the top of their class and they don't get that big salaried, big law job, that it's okay. Like some of us end up being in big law, even if we didn't start there.
Mm-hmm.
And, in some respects, I got a totally different experience because I wasn't at big law. I didn't get the money, but I got a place where I got a lot of hands-on experience and jumped into court immediately. And, we all have our own circuitous routes to get to where we're supposed to be. But having that trial and error and getting that experience of working at different places, you're not going to get it right the first time you get a law school.
Yeah.
If you do, wonderful, then you could stay in that position for your whole career. But I think that it really does help to move around a little bit to kind of figure out what you're going to do long term.
Yeah.
Because you really don't know at law school. You're going to be in government, you're going to be in in-house, you're going to be nonprofit, you're going to be private practice. Like there's just so many options. And coming out of law school just after 3 years and you only studying academia, but not really getting into the practice, you don't really get to have the full on, I guess, experience of really understanding what those choices mean.
Yeah,
And
for sure. So tell me a little bit how your civil litigation practice has evolved over the years. What did you start off doing and what are you doing now?
yeah, so I started off really being good at insurance coverage, and
Hmm.
it's very particular in that I would handle these very complex, large cases like environmental spills or asbestos or chemical or those kinds of large losses around the country, and it would all the insurance coverage of that particular matter would depend on a policy, which is a contract, a very complex contract, and we would fight over like hundreds of millions of dollars, perhaps even $1 billion or so, about whether or not this insurance company should pay for these losses around the country. And it really required a sophisticated analysis of the contract. So I got really good at
Mm,
contracts.
mm,
And I don't do as much insurance coverage, although I think that I do have a little bit of a specialty now. But that like practice of like understanding complex contracts, the procedural posture and the litigation involved around that really helped me kind of become more of a general business litigator because
mm,
a lot of business litigation is focused on contract, whether that's insurance or some other thing. And
right.
so that really set me up quite well
Mm.
in terms of being a more sophisticated litigator and doing complex litigation, large amounts in controversy, and all the other matters that I do now are, just general business litigation.
Makes sense. Now, in your area, do you go to trial often or most of these cases settle?
Well, I think most cases in general settle,
Right.
but I think I've been lucky as
Mm,
as a trial lawyer. I mean, I love going to trial. I love
mhm,
it.
mhm.
But from a business perspective, I don't think clients love love lawyers going to trial because it's expensive and there's exposure,
Yeah, of course.
right? So, I've been lucky in that respect that there have been clients that said, we believe strongly enough, we're going to pay for it because it's worth it to us regardless of whatever happens. And so I think I got to have a pretty good at my level amount of trial experience,
Yeah.
including first chair. So I can tell you, sometimes you win them, sometimes you lose them. Thankfully, I have more wins than the L's, but I feel that's been a plus and just really, really fortunate to have those experiences.
Now, in your current position, do you find yourself mentoring a lot of younger associates, mid-level, even senior associates? Is that something you enjoy doing?
Yeah, I love doing that because I love sharing my anecdotes
Mm,
and what I've learned kind of as you can see from our conversation now. There's been so many crazy stories. I can imagine from everybody's career, they have had a journey here. And I feel like I've had a journey too. Just getting to be involved as a leader in different organizations, including my own law firm where I'm, one of the first, if not the first, Asian American woman
mm,
of our over 100-year firm to be in the partnership. board and in our management. So often people want to say, what is your story? How did you get here?
Mm,
And so I love sharing that.
mm,
I was office managing partner of this firm more than 10 years ago. And now, today, fast forward, there are a lot more office managing partners, executive committee members, and other roles at large law firms and other firms that are minorities or women or both. And so it's just really heartening. Like, I mean, it's just great. It's like there's more of us at the table.
yeah.
And I see that like through my other organizations. So I used to be a past president of NAPABA, which is the National Asian Pacific American Bar Association. And we had a very, very small group. You could count them with your hand of how many of us were in large law firm leadership.
Mm.
And now, in this subcommittee that I lead with others, like we can fill up an entire room of all of us who are in law firm management. So it's just so happy to have brothers and sisters, and we can, kind of compare notes.
Yeah, totally. Well, tell me a little bit about your involvement with the Committee of 100. I know that's a very prestigious Asian American organization. One of my past guests, who may know Frank Wu, I think is involved in Committee of 100, and he spoke about it. So tell me a little bit about, well, what it is and what your involvement is.
Yeah, Frank is great, and he's a past leader. So I currently serve on the board as not only a member of Committee of 100, but as a board member. And also, I'm the chair of our Southern California region, and we have four regions because that's really predominantly where most of our members reside
Hmm.
in Southern California, Northern California, New York, and DC. And recently, as my chair role, I had to chair our annual conference because it was in LA, and that
Mm,
was a great opportunity to bring together a lot of key people in the community to come together in all facets of different industries and business and so on. And so I got involved because, funny, I was a mentee in this mentoring program, almost like in its pilot stage or beta stage. They were trying to mentor the next generation. That was probably like 13 years or so
mm,
ago, and it was their inaugural class, and they were trying to do some leadership and mentorship program. And I got to know the organization for the first time, was very impressed, and looked to these like committee of 100 members thinking like, wow, um, these are like just outstanding people. And I kind of organically stayed involved, go to events once in a while. But apparently, they've been monitoring my career, certain people, and I guess they nominated me a few years ago to
mm.
actually become a member. And at the time, you didn't really know about the nomination process. They kept it pretty secret in that, they don't want people applying.
Right.
And it was just such an honor to be invited to the organization, and I wanted to give back. Because when I was involved as a mentee, I got opportunities to meet people that are just, extremely of high profile character. I remember being at the Committee of 100. I got invited to the Committee of 100 gala, and I was sitting next to Charlie Munger. It was
Wow.
just so crazy. And so it really has been such a wonderful opportunity to meet people outside of my industry. So I know a lot of lawyers, just having been involved in a lot of bar associations,
Right.
but to kind of really expand my network and meet notable people, mainly Chinese Americans who are members in arts or academia or business or sports or media or entertainment. I mean, it's just all these people that some of who are, on magazines and on TV and all that, and to be a colleague of theirs, and to all of us to aggregate and congregate together and say all of us had made an impact in America in our respective and chosen fields. How can we come together and make an impact for the Chinese and Asian American community?
Mm,
Because one of the things about being a Committee of 100 is not that you're just a prominent Chinese American, but you also have to have the second component, which is that you're, a successful Chinese American, but that you also care about making a difference, that you had a
Mm.
demonstrated history of like doing community service or civic engagement. And so that's what I really like about that is that like, hey, we're all together. We're not just an honor society, but like,
Right.
how are we gonna bring together our talents and further the cause to help other people because we've all made it in some respects, but we need to help other people because that kind of helps everybody.
Yeah, makes sense. Why is it called the Committee of 100? Where did it get the name from?
Well, right now the group is loosely around, I don't know, 140 or something,
Mm,
but I
mm.
think it was primarily in number about 100 or so members.
I see. I
And then
see.
I think, the I guess the logo is like by Ren, or it's like 100 person.
I see.
Um, uh, there's a meaning behind it um that probably has a lot more significance than I can explain right now. But yeah, it's like we all come together as one.
Got it. Got it. Do you ever reflect on the fact that it was lucky you weren't good at biology and chemistry? Otherwise, you would have never found this career?
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. So, I'm Christian and I really feel about there's something about God's will that like we have all these things that come to us and you're like, why did that happen to me? Like, oh my gosh, like this is such a challenge. But then I think, okay, this is God's will. Like this was meant to happen
Yeah.
for some reason. So I had different choices in life, be a scientist or, a mathematician, but no, this is my calling.
Yeah.
And I mean, some people do not like their careers, but I actually go home really satisfied, like
That's really cool.
thinking like, wow, like I found something. I'm lucky to have
Yeah.
found something I really enjoy doing every day.
Yeah. Well, Cyndie, I really appreciate your taking the time. It's been a fascinating conversation. I love talking to lawyers who enjoy what they do, and you were definitely that situation. So thanks so much for taking the time to share your story with me.
Oh, thank you so much, Richard.
This is Richard Hsu and Cyndie Chang. Thanks.